20 minutes after 9 o'clock, this is KASM Albany, 1150 AM, KDDG Albany, 105.5 HD2. It is time for Answers Party Line today. It is brought to you by Wimmer Opticians of St. Cloud, Atlas Family Chiropractic of Waite Park, and the offices of the Central Minnesota Credit Union on this Monday, February the 22nd, 2016. We have with us Dennis Fuchs, and also we've got with us Rick Berscheid we've got SWCD represented. We've got the did I say that right, Dennis?
Yes, you did.
Gee, Monday, I got to remember all my acronyms. NRCS, District Conservationist. We have Rick Berscheid. Rick and Dennis, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Oh, I wish I could go back to bed and rewind a little bit, I think. But other than that, it's been going well.
Good weekend?
Yeah, it was fun. Was out of town, and it's nice to get away and then come back, you know.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I ended up getting some chores done around the place and ended up watching the alumni hockey game over at TCF Bank Stadium at my place there with a few beers, so that was fun.
I thought you were going to say you're going to watch you watched the Daytona 500 or something.
No, I'm not a huge race fan.
Okay.
I mean, I should hang out with more people that know more about it, so that understand what's going on other than just going around this track.
Go left.
What's the strategy?
Yeah. Don't have an accident.
Yeah, and I like it when they crash.
I do too. That makes it exciting. Rick, how was your weekend?
It was good. I watched a little bit of the alumni hockey game as well, and a few laps of the Daytona. So it was a good, relaxing weekend.
You covered it all then.
I did.
Now, what are we talking about today?
Well, we got a little time here before you do your first or pay the bills.
Yeah.
And I wanted to mention and let everybody know that we have the Pheasants Forever Banquet coming up here. That's the 33rd annual, and that's the Stearns County chapter. And that's going to be Saturday, March 5th, and that's going to be at the Freeport Community Center, and the doors open at 5:30. And then the banquet starts at 7:30, and it's great to get there early. They got a bunch of raffles, and they do a silent auction, and it's a great opportunity to mingle with your fellow pheasant hunters and people that enjoy getting out and about and supporting habitat. And a membership package is $55. And if you want to get more information on how to get registered, you just go online and type Stearns County Pheasants Forever, and you'll find their webpage, and they actually got the application to be there. And you can also show up at the door, but they do like people to register. It's at the Freeport Community Center. They got great food there, and they like to get a good head count for the meal. So they do take walk-ins, but if you can, just Google Stearns County Pheasants Forever, and you'll end up at the website, and you'll actually see the application for registration. And once again, that's Saturday. When did I say that?
March 5th.
Yeah, Saturday, March 5th. What do you think, the date changed? Saturday, March 5th, and the doors open at 5:30, and banquet starts at 7:30. And one of the other things that we always do recently with the support of our Pheasants Forever chapter is recognize our outstanding conservationists. As you know, the Stearns County Soil Water Conservation District every year nominates and selects a outstanding conservationist. And this year is Royce and Mary Trout and family north of Sartell. And they're going to be recognized that night, too. So it's a great opportunity to shake their hands and thank them for doing a good job in protecting the environment and producing ag products in a sustainable fashion. And they'll be recognized there also then. And it's just a great opportunity to mingle and have some fun. They do sell beer there, too.
They do?
Yeah. You can have a couple. You got to drive. You got to behave a little bit. Jeez. Or get a designated driver.
Dennis, you're the best.
So that's coming up here quick, Saturday, March 5th, right here at the Freeport Community Center. And what we have bounced this around. We do have a fair amount of members from the St. Cloud area, and we've had it at what used to be the old Delwyn there in St. Joe, but that is no longer in existence. So we have moved it out to Gerard's, which is now different in Sauk Center, the larger banquet center there. But Freeport Community Center is this nice, centrally located spot, and it's worked out very good. We also have been at the Gorecki Center in St. Joe at the St. Ben's campus, and that also is a very nice location. But you can't beat the food at the Freeport Community Center. They just do an awesome job. I was there last week for the Irrigation Association of Minnesota, and man, I felt like I was at a wedding. was so tasty.
But then you thought, oh, I'm glad I'm not.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't mine.
So now with the $55, is that the membership sign-up fee, or does that include the meal, or
Okay, that's a good question, Brad. Yes, thank you. That includes one banquet ticket and 1-year membership.
Okay.
And the membership includes, they give you a magazine that comes out about 5 times a year, and it's a beautiful magazine with some of the nicest photography you'll ever see. And so that's just a great way to support. And I should mention that the Stearns County chapter of Pheasants Forever has been very supportive of our office's conservation activities. They have in the past provided buffer dollars, incentive dollars. They have got a great board of directors that recognizes the importance of agriculture in this county and in the state of Minnesota and the Midwest, and want to do the best job they can to maintain the most productive ag acres in ag production. But there are areas that just aren't quite as productive that might be more profitable for a farmer to participate in like a conservation reserve program, some type of set-aside program where they put that marginal cropland area into grasses and wildflowers and produce water quality benefits, wildlife habitat, sequester carbon, and other benefits. So there's a lot of value to putting these in habitat, which Pheasants Forever is really excited about. But then it also is a great opportunity for the landowner to make their bottom line a little better too. Because if you're constantly putting in all the inputs that are required for corn or soybean, and especially with seed costs and input costs being relatively high yet, and you look at what our average CRP rental rate, somewhere between $100 to $200 an acre, depending on your soil type, you got a great opportunity to leverage additional dollars and do some good things for the environment. And the Pheasants Forever group has been very active with that. And the former district conservationists, we had Rick, and then we had Dave Rose, and before Dave Rose, it was Steve Salno. He is the Pheasants Forever president. So he's a real strong advocate for agriculture, and I think we can talk more about the buffers later, but when the governor made the announcement at the Pheasants Forever state meeting, it was a lot of tie-in with Pheasants Forever as if that was part of the deal. And we want to make sure that our producers in Stearns County recognize that our board of directors have a lot of respect for agriculture and want to maintain a strong ag economy.
So go March 5th.
Yeah, go March 5th and have a fun time. And you might even get lucky.
Excuse me?
With
the meal.
Yeah.
With the tasty meal. And yes.
Well, yeah, they got a lot of drawings and give
that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Right.
Sorry if there was any misinterpretation.
We got a couple minutes here. What should we cover in that time before we talk anything else here?
Well, we do have the Governor's Water Summit coming up this weekend. It's going to be Saturday, February 27th, and I will be down there along with some of the Soil Water Conservation District supervisors, Dave Brinkman, Arlen Lorenz, and Chuck Uphoff, and I can talk a little bit more about that after the break, but the governor really wanted to pull together some folks to talk about some of the challenges in solving our water quality concerns. And it's not just agriculture, it's also urban, and working together to help solve these problems. We're going to all have to do something to solve it. So that's going to be Saturday, and it's going to be at the St. Paul Intercontinental Riverfront Hotel, and they also have the Red Bull
that event, yeah.
The stuff on ice.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be packed, plus I think the state wrestling tournament's going on.
Oh, that too, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so and plus I think Black Lives Matter are going to be doing some protesting
I think so, yeah.
that day. So anyhow, it could be a challenge to see how this all plays out. But we're going to be there. We're going to make sure that we can represent Stearns County and let them know that we're doing what we can to protect our resources, and we're continuing to get more farmers involved with our programs and landowners, not just farmers here in the county, but also lakeshore residents and cities, in doing what they can to protect our resources.
Plus, when we come back, we'll also talk about the Conservation Stewardship Program.
Yeah, Rick's going to – I'm sorry, Rick, I took all the wind out of your sail.
I'll get you on the neck.
So we'll be back. We'll talk more with Rick Berscheid and Dennis Fuchs here as we get back from our break on Chasm Radio. Cloudy skies. It is 24 degrees. A high today of about, I think they're saying around 30, right around 30 or so. We'll get all the details coming up. Weather, sports, news. Right now, Minnesota News Network. It's Chasm Radio. We continue with Answers Party Line this morning, visiting with from our District Conservationist of NRCS, Rick Berscheid. Also, we've got Dennis Fuchs from the SWCD with us. As we talk about, should we talk about the Conservation Stewardship Program?
Just let me finish up on this.
Fine, be that way.
Well, on this Governor's Water Summit, I just wanted to, that was a registration only, so they have maxed out registration, and so I'm glad we got a few folks here from Greater Minnesota to show up, like our supervisors and myself. So we'll see what he's got to say, and we'll share that with the listeners the next time we get back. But the summit will focus public attention on the serious challenges facing Minnesota's water supplies in both rural and urban areas of the state, and continue statewide dialogue around steps that must be taken to address those challenges. It'll bring together water quality experts, farmers, legislators, regulators, the business community, members of the public, local leaders, and a wide variety of stakeholders. So that's what they got on their website. So that's what they're saying it's about. I don't think they're looking for any action items out of this. They're just more of an information sharing, what the needs are and how we can get there by working together. So it should be interesting to see what comes out of it.
So basically a repeat of what is mainly already known? Is that kind of the deal? Or?
It probably is going to be some information sharing. Not everybody knows the state of Minnesota waters, and I think a lot of times you only hear the bad things out there as far as water quality. But I think the MPCA recently has released a report which never got much press, stating that we actually have made significant progress in improving some of our waters. Now, we aren't where we need to be, but we have made some progress, which I think is also important that we share that with the listeners. You listen to some of the media out there, and it's a lot of negative stuff, and, there's a lot of good things going on, too. So that's a good thing.
But do you have a max sign up with that already?
Yeah. They were going to have several hundred people that could register for it, and that filled up. What was it? In 2 days,
wow.
Registration was filled up. Yes. So we'll let your listeners know what we find out next time we're on the air.
And when is that taking place again?
That's going to be this weekend, Saturday, February 27th, and it starts at 8:30 in the morning. So we're going to get going early to beat the traffic from all the other fun activities happening in St. Paul this weekend.
Are you one of the speakers or just attending?
Crushed ice. That's the big thing going on down in St. Paul.
Crushed ice.
Yeah, Red Bull crushed ice
that's
activity.
The event.
Yeah, that's the other.
You just thought of that.
Yeah, that brings in hundreds and thousands of people.
Okay.
That's when they're skating down these steep hills and flying apart and blowing up, and it's just crazy.
Now, going back, are you speaking at the other event?
No, I'm just there to learn.
Just there to learn.
I will be doing some talking because I like to mingle,
right.
but not in front of the crowd.
Okay.
And it sounds like they're going to have breakout sessions covering everything from, water quantity, like related to pumping for livestock or irrigation, to aquatic invasive species. So they're going to have a wide range, and then you can go to the breakout sessions that's more inclined to your interest and attend those. So,
but Dennis, you're in the know when it comes to this. You know about this stuff. Are you expecting to like an aha moment when you attend this? Or?
Well, sometimes it does happen, and a lot of the things that we accomplish is through partnerships and working with diverse groups, and maybe a great idea will come out of this for another partnership and solving problems. That's what it's all about: solving problems, working together. Having a beer.
Being a team.
Yeah, accomplish some good and celebrate with a beer.
All right.
No, speaking of good, let's talk about the Conservation Stewardship Program.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That was a quick segue. Right to Rick.
Here we go. All right.
Take it away.
All right. I just want to let our listeners know that everyone that was waiting and excited for the sign-up, we do have a sign-up cutoff deadline now. It has been established for March 31st. With all of our programs, it's a continuous sign-up, so anyone that signed up since our last cutoff deadline will be evaluated during this next period as long as you get your application in by March 31st. Actually, right before we came on the air here, I looked at the list of enhancements. We have over 120 different enhancements available. And they range for air quality, animal, plant, soil erosion, soil quality, water quantity enhancements. And there's just a lot of different enhancements out there, so there should be something that we should be able to work with you on and fit into your operation. The way the program works, just kind of give you a little bit of background on it, is you come on into the office, we'll take an application, we'll walk you through the sign-up process, get you all your eligibility forms in order, and then we'll give you a list of enhancements. You can take that home and take a look at it and see what type of enhancements are going to work for your operation. Now, we were told that it's going to be run the same way as it was last year. There's not going to be any new enhancements. The payment rates are still going to be the same, and everything's going to be the same as our last sign-up. And after you had an opportunity to take a look at those enhancements, we'll set up an appointment with you, get you back into the office. We'll go through this process called the Conservation Measurement Tool. And what we do is essentially ask you a bunch of questions on how you're currently managing your operation. And what that'll do is that'll set up a benchmark level essentially, and we can look at those enhancements and pick a few enhancements that you want to install, and based on those two different components we'll come up with an annual payment. And the program's good for 5 years. So you'll just implement those enhancements and continue to operate as you were at those benchmark levels, as you receive that a payment for each year for up to 5 years.
Do they generally know the roundabout cost when they look at these enhancements, and does that kind of help them determine which ones they maybe want to focus on? Or?
There's quite a few different enhancements, and of course each one's going to cost slightly different. What they will know is what their annual payment's going to be before they actually sign a contract, so they could take that and go compare the cost to install those actual enhancements to see what the cost-benefit ratio is on that.
I'm just trying to figure out the thought process when they take this list home and they look at the enhancements and they say, okay, I want this one looks good, I want this one, and they kind of narrow things down.
Sure. What I like to tell folks is do the ones that you want to do. Don't try to maximize your payments by selecting a bunch of different enhancements, because after we get into a contract, those are the enhancements that we need to do. And if you find out later, like you mentioned, Brad, that they're not cost effective to do, and they're ones that you're just trying to do to maximize your payments, we could get into potential contract violations, and we just don't want to get to that point where we're going down that road. So if it's something that you're really wanting to do and you were going to do anyways, and we can assist you to do it, great. That's what we want to promote, those types of enhancements.
And the reasoning behind the measurement tool, of course, is to make sure that things are going to work out the way they hope it's going to work out.
Right. Just like all of our other conservation programs, this is conservation in mind. We're trying to do enhancements above and beyond how you're already operating the land to be more conservation-minded.
So does it get finalized like right away once you kind of go over that tool and go?
Well, that's a great point there. We are supposed to be obligating all of our applications by July 1st. So the sign-up deadline is March 31st. Then we'll go through that interview process, set up the enhancements, get those benchmarked activities down, and then the next process is it's a competitive program, so depending on how many applicants we have across the state, we'll determine how many get funded. We'll get a pre-approval list, and then we'll eventually get into a contract, hopefully by July 1st.
So that you're also relying on that outside, okay, what's going to be funded actually, that's going to be a kind of a decision-making finalizer too, I guess.
Right. Each year is different as far as how many applicants actually get offered a contract. A few years ago, we were accepting majority of all applicants. Last year, now, we didn't accept, we didn't accept all the applicants because of the limited amount of acres and dollars that were available. So those folks that signed up that didn't get a contract last year, you're welcome to come back in, and we'll go through the process again, and we'll try again for this round.
Then how do you perceive who gets notoriety, who gets the first option, or who gets? I mean, because you're going to have to cut it off at one point, right?
Right. That's determined by that conservation measurement tool. You
get
assessed points based on how you're currently operating, your ground and the enhancements that you're selecting. You get certain points for all those different factors, and then that's what we use to determine who gets funded and who doesn't.
So, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. And then we just fund down that level until we run out of acres or dollars.
Okay. And then the people who didn't get the help that they wanted can try again next time? Or?
And try again the next sign up. And sometimes what happens is other states don't use all their dollars, so Minnesota has the opportunity, if we spend all of our dollars, to try to go get some more funds to fund more applications.
Okay.
So there is that trickle effect sometimes too after July 1st, where we'll get a few more dollars that we can fund some more applications.
I did not know that. All right. Interesting.
Brad?
Yes.
Can I talk about buffers?
Oh, please do.
All right. Yeah, this is something that a lot of the listeners have been hearing a lot about, and I know a lot of the ag groups have been very concerned about, getting these done right. And there was a meeting here between the governor, Speaker of the House, and a couple other representatives to make sure that the legislative intent that was agreed to is going to be pursued with the DNR mapping. And the DNR has been directed now by the governor not to include any private ditches that flow into judicial ditch systems or other surface waters. So what this means is that the DNR now is working on a map that just includes public waters and public ditches, which should be fairly easy because we do already have the public waters inventory map. And then we also know which ditches are judicial now. Some of those ditches have been rerouted and moved around from back when they were installed a century ago, maybe not quite, but a pretty long time ago. And the watershed districts are sharing a lot of that information. The county will be sharing, whoever the judicial ditch authority is, will be sharing that information with the DNR. And they're hoping to have that information out later this year for us to review. And that's something that we'll be taking a very close look at. There are different ways of looking at, like the public waters inventory. There's a map out there that we use occasionally to identify surface waters and streams. And if you compare that map to the existing public waters inventory, there's over 1,000 miles of streams that are not public waters. So, we were hoping that this would provide a little more continuity. Right now, a township road it'll be public waters on one side of the road and not on the other side. So I don't think a lot of that's going to get fixed with this map, and it's going to result in some hard feelings, I think, with neighbors out there, because some neighbor will have to have a buffer and the next neighbor won't have a buffer required. There's also some questions about, like, Getchell Creek. If that's been straightened out and is acting more like a ditch, is that going to result in a 50-foot buffer or a 16.5-foot buffer? And what we've heard so far is that will probably be requiring a 16.5-foot if it's been straightened out and acting more like a ditch than a stream. So we'll see. And the Stearns SWCD has been reluctant to do a lot of work on this until we get two things. One, we need the map from the DNR to see where the buffers are required. And two, the Board of Water and Soil Resources is working on the alternative ag practices that may reduce that buffer width. So before we visit with a landowner that might need a buffer, if they're going to be doing conservation tillage or a perennial crop or have a rotation that might include a cover crop, that buffer width might be reduced. So we want to make sure we got all the information before we start visiting with our landowners to make sure that it's clear to them what needs to be done.
So you said there might be a little issue. There might be some heat as far as, well, why is this person doing this and why, comparing to the neighbors.
Yep.
Who's going to get more heat, the Sauk River Watershed District or you guys?
Well, for ditches, like the Sauk River Watershed District is the ditch authority for a lot of those ditches. But when it comes to the buffer implementation, then it'll be the Soil Water Conservation District. So, and our work will be based on the DNR map. And that information will be shared with every landowner. They're hoping to throw it up on a website where you can zoom in on your farm and take a look at any potential buffers that might be needed on your farm. And, it's 16 and a half feet is for the ditch systems, and my understanding is that that width was developed a long time ago to provide access to do ditch maintenance, not necessarily a water quality component. And then the streams, the public waters inventory streams already require a 50-foot buffer. But they can, in statute, that distance can be reduced if you have a conservation plan. Nobody's told me what is that conservation plan. So typically, it's if you're doing a good deal of crop residue management, crop rotation, contour strip planting, making sure that you got your erosion controlled. You can reduce that.
By how much, though?
Yeah, well, and that's just it. It doesn't really say,
Wow.
but it can be reduced. So we're hoping that we'll get better information now that we've got the spotlight shining on this, and those alternative ag practices will give us some go-to practices that'll allow us to reduce that buffer width. And that'll be on shoreland, and I'm not sure if they're going to allow any buffer width reduction on ditches. That's yet to be found out. Like I said earlier, if they need access for ditch maintenance, a lot of times that's why they like to have that 16 and a half foot. That'd be enough to get, a track hoe in or whatever it is to do maintenance on that ditch.
So you think that would be the bare minimum, or you're just trying to see what the least amount that can still be effective?
Well, typically buffers are more effective the wider they are.
Okay.
But the other thing is that, buffers will provide a certain amount of reduction to pollutants entering surface waters. But typically we like to look at areas in the field where you have concentrated flow, where you got gullies coming in, grass waterways. There might be spots along a stream where minimal buffer width is required, but there's other parts of the field where you should have a finger going up into the field, maybe several hundred feet as a grass waterway. Or water and sediment basins. Those are structural practices that are like little dams across the field that help slow the water so that it stays on your field. So there's just a lot of information, and I know some of the soil water conservation districts here in central Minnesota are a little more active on this. We also have our Sauk River Watershed District. They have the harvestable buffer. They're providing a payment up to $150 an acre for these areas in the buffer that need to be buffered. And those are within a targeted area where we can see the greatest bang for their dollar. And we're working very closely with them to make sure we can do that. Plus, we got this legislative session. They were making some modifications, when the governor says, well, let's not include the private ditches now. And so what's going to happen with this legislative session, which starts here in March, and, they might be tweaking it some more. And I just want to make sure that we do it right. I don't want to be telling our farmers to do something, say they put in a 50-foot buffer, and then they find out later, you mean if I would have went into a no-till production system, I could have reduced that buffer width by whatever? So I just don't want us to get crossways with the landowners. We want to do a good job and doing the best we can with making sure we're accurate.
So you have to kind of anticipate what's going to be determined in the future to figure out what's best now.
Well, kind of, yeah, and that's where we got a lot of work to get done. All this has got to be done by 2018, and I'm afraid that we might, especially if you want to participate in a program. If you just want to put it in brome grass and harvest it for hay, you can do that yourself, and that's not a big deal. But if you want to participate in CRP, or maybe a conservation reserve enhancement program, which is the combination of CRP and RIM, so you got payment for 10 to 15 years, plus you get the permanent conservation easement payment based on your township soil payment. So that could be a fairly big number, but you're leaving it in there for a long, long period of time. It's a permanent easement. So some folks might not like that, but there's a lot of programs that we can review with the landowner, and the folks that don't like to work with our office and just want to get it done, there is just get in some type of perennial cover. Even alfalfa will be considered okay for this, but typically alfalfa over time will move, it kind of dies off, and dies back where you got mostly grass and dandelions after a while. But you'll want to, work a system that keeps it a perennial crop system. grasses.
Right. And the buffer it's not going to be consistently the same width all the way on the property line or whatever.
Correct. Yeah, and if you got a stream that's meandering,
right.
The average there's a minimum of 30 and an average of 50. So as long as you come up with something that if you got a question on that, you can visit with our office and we'll have more information too on what that would be. But we really want to see those maps because they might even show you exactly where that 50-foot buffer is, giving us where the streams that we have today. They do meander though,
Right.
and I should visit with our listeners. We do have some other meetings. Buffers are good at removing sediment from surface waters, but they will not remove nitrates. And the best thing to do is manage your nitrogen accordingly. And the University of Minnesota Extension Service has put together some nitrogen smart trainings. And these are to help present the fundamentals for maximizing economic return on your nitrogen investment and minimizing nitrogen loss. So you're going to learn about sources of nitrogen for crops, how nitrogen is lost from soil and how you can reduce losses, managing nitrogen in drainage systems. What does the new nutrient reduction strategy and nitrogen management strategy mean for Minnesota producers? There's two new components out there that are going to have some influence on what farmers can do. And then also they're going to talk about split applications, alternative end fertilizers, soil and tissue testing, nitrogen models, and other tools to refine your management approach. And that's coming up here on St. Cloud is March 4th. And that is that Friday, March 4th?
Let me look. Yes, it is.
Friday, March 4th.
Yep.
And that's at St. Cloud, 9 a.m. to noon at the River's Edge Convention Center. And there is no registration required. You just show up, and they'll give you a good training and send you on your way. It's also going to be at Wilmer on Thursday, March 3rd. And that's at the Minnesota West Technical Campus at the LSI building, the auditorium. And that'll be from 1 to 4 p.m. So if you're interested in doing a better job of managing your nitrogen fertilizer, which is one of the things that they're going to be talking about at the Governor's Water Summit, is the amount of nitrates that we're seeing in our surface waters and trying to do a better job of using that in your crop instead of sending it down the pipe or through the tile drain. And so once again, that's Thursday, March 3rd, 1 to 4 p.m. at the West Tech Campus. And then Friday, March 7th, no, let me get that right. Friday, March 4th at St. Cloud, 9 to noon at the River's Edge Convention Center.
Okay, quick question from a listener here. Why, if we have milkweed in the ditches, does the county spray for them? What's the question? I don't know.
That's a good question. I know there's been a big push to spray them less because it's monarch butterfly habitat. So maybe that's something that we'll have to visit with the Stearns County Weed Inspector. Missing his name right now, but yeah, we'll visit with him and see if we can't leave those stand because it's definitely important for the monarchs.
Very good. Dennis Fuchs, SWCD, and also Rick Berscheid, District Conservationist, NRCS. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.